Alcatraz. The name itself means inescapable. It was not just a prison, it was a fortress, a concrete island rising from the freezing, treacherous waters of the San Francisco Bay. It was the end of the line, a prison designed for the worst of the worst. Men like Al Capone and Machine Gun Kelly, the wardens of Alcatraz, boasted that it was a perfect system, more than just walls and bars. The prison's greatest weapon was the bay itself. The water was lethally cold. The currents were famously violent, capable of pulling a swimmer out to the open Pacific in minutes. No one had ever successfully escaped. In 29 years, 36 men tried. Most were recaptured. Many were shot. Several drowned, but in 1962, 4 men attempted the impossible, and 3 of them would disappear from the face of the earth. This is the story of the Great Escape from Alcatraz. The plan was genius, and it was orchestrated by one man, Frank Lee Morris. Morris wasn't just another convict. He was a career criminal, true, but he possessed a brilliant, patient, and methodical mind. His official IQ was 133, then placing him in the genius category. He was the architect. His team consisted of John Anglin and his brother Clarence Anglin. Tough, quiet bank robbers from a large family, they were known for being inseparable. And finally, there was Alan West, a car thief who had tried to escape other prisons multiple times. Together, these 4 men, locked in cells in the same block, B block, began to plan the most audacious prison break in history. Their target was not the doors, it was the walls. The walls of Alcatraz were old. The concrete, constantly exposed to the salty, damp air of the bay, had begun to crumble. Around the ventilation duct in each man's cell was a section of this decaying wall. The opening was 6 inches by 9 inches. Too small for a man. But what if the hole could be made bigger? This became the core of the plan. For 6 months, the men worked. Their tools were primitive but ingenious. Spoons stolen from the dining hall, a drill made from the motor of a broken vacuum cleaner, and the sound of their digging was masked by the prison's music hour. Every evening from 5:30 to 6:30, accordion music was played over the prison intercom. During that 1 hour, the grinding, scraping, and chipping was just noise. Night after night, they chipped away at the concrete until the small vent became a hole big enough for a man to crawl through, a hole that led to the utility corridor, an unsupervised 3-foot wide passageway that ran the entire length of the cell block. But there was a problem. The guards made their rounds, checking the cells every 30 to 60 minutes. Even if the men could get into the corridor, the guards would eventually look into their empty bunks and sound the alarm. They needed a decoy. This is the most famous part of the escape. Using a mixture of soap, toothpaste, toilet paper, and concrete dust from their digging, they sculpted fake heads. They were grotesque, but brilliant. They used real human hair stolen from the prison barbershop to make them look realistic in the dark. Each night, when the men left to work, they would place these dummy heads on their pillows. In the dim light of the cell block, the guards peering through the bars saw only what they expected to see, a sleeping inmate, while the Anglin brothers dug, Frank Morris designed. Alan West was the scavenger. Slowly, piece by piece, they built the gear they would need to survive the water. They stole or acquired over 50 raincoats, standard issue, rubberized cotton raincoats. Using stolen glue and heating pipes in the corridor, they painstakingly vulcanized the seams, turning the raincoats into a giant inflatable raft, 6 feet by 14 feet. They even built paddles out of plywood, and using a small accordion-like instrument called a concertina, they took the bellows to use as an inflator. They built life vests. They sealed the holes in their cells with painted cardboard. It was a perfect, meticulous plan. After months of work, they were ready. The night of the escape was set for June 11th, 1962. That night, the plan went into motion. Morris and the Anglin brothers placed their dummy heads, slipped through their holes, and climbed into the dark utility corridor. But there was a problem. Alan West, the 4th man, was stuck. The concrete around his vent had crumbled differently. The hole was too small. He was frantically digging, but he couldn't get out. Morris and the Anglins were on a schedule. They couldn't wait. In the darkness, they left him behind. The 3 men, carrying their 50-pound raft, climbed the utility pipes to the roof of the cell block, slipped past a guard tower in the shadows, slid down a 50-foot kitchen pipe to the ground, ran 400 yards across the prison yard, climbed 2 12-foot barbed wire fences, and finally reached the island's northeast shore. It was a blind spot, a rocky beach. In the pitch-black darkness, they inflated their raft. And at 11:30 p.m., they slipped into the lethal waters of the San Francisco Bay and vanished. The next morning at 7:15 a.m., the first alarm bell rang. The dummy head in Morris's cell was discovered. Alcatraz went into lockdown. The FBI, the Coast Guard, and the Bureau of Prisons launched one of the largest manhunts in history. Helicopters, boats, and ground troops scoured the bay and the surrounding islands. They found almost nothing. A paddle washed ashore on Angel Island. Later, a waterproof wallet containing the names and addresses of friends of the Anglin brothers was found. And then tattered pieces of raincoat material washed up near the Golden Gate Bridge. The official story was clear. The men, facing the 5 degrees Celsius water and the violent currents, their raft had failed. They had drowned. Case closed. But was it? The FBI's conclusion felt too neat. For 60 years, new evidence has surfaced, evidence that suggests this perfect prison was beaten. First, the bodies. Despite one of the most intense searches ever, not a single body of the 3 men was ever found. The bay almost always returns its dead. Second, the plan. The men were not stupid, they were meticulous, they had studied the tide charts. The FBI claimed they left at 11:30 p.m. right into a powerful outgoing tide. But many experts believe they waited. They waited until just after midnight for the tide to slack and then reverse, a current that would push them, not to the open ocean, but towards Angel Island and the mainland. Third, the sightings. In the days, months, and years that followed, sightings poured in. A car stolen in a nearby town just hours after the escape. A report from a man who claimed he saw 3 men on a boat in the bay. And then, the strangest clue of all, the Anglin family. The family claimed that for years the mother received unsigned Christmas cards. And one day, a photo allegedly taken in Brazil in 1975, showing 2 men, bearded and older, who looked uncannily like John and Clarence Anglin. Forensic experts are still divided on its authenticity. And finally, in 2013, a letter sent to the San Francisco police claiming to be from John Anglin. The handwriting matched his official records. It said, "My name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in 1962. I am 83 years old and in bad shape. I have cancer." The letter claimed that Frank Morris died in 2008 and his brother Clarence died in 2011. The FBI was forced to reopen the case, but the evidence was inconclusive. Was it a hoax or a final confession? Alcatraz prison was closed in 1963, less than a year after the escape. The official story is that it was too expensive to run, but many believe it was because 3 men with spoons, raincoats, and a genius plan had proven that the inescapable was not. The case remains open. The men are still on the wanted list, and the mystery endures. Did they die in the water, or did they pull off the perfect crime?